If you are a working woman, which aren't we all, in some capacity, there's a lie we often believe about our jobs, about our responsibilities, according to my next guest. She says the lie is, if I work harder, my efforts will be noticed. But that's not always the case. Hard work, she believes, doesn't always equate to recognition. And that can feel frustrating for a woman who is giving her all. So my next guest wants to help you find ways to add value to your company, to your work, without overexerting yourself, without losing yourself in the process. Business author and speaker Tessa White joins me in studio. It's great to meet you, Tessa.
It's nice to meet you.
That's a bold claim, and as I think about it, it does hold some truth and some sensibility. You are a former head of human resources for large companies like Vivint Solar, so you get people, you get business, and you know what makes a good employee. What does adding value to the workplace actually mean? How does that translate to the everyday woman?
It's interesting because I think so many people think, I'm just going to go to work, and if I just work harder, I'll get rewarded. And what I've seen behind the scenes in these conversations about people is that number one career commandment, results are your greatest leverage. And results don't always equate to just everyday work. And so you need to get really clear that the job description itself may not be your best guide. Your best guide is sorting out the job on paper from the actual real job, which can be very different. Adding value is about making a difference to a company and solving the biggest problems that they have. Often, none of that shows up on a job description.
To solve problems or to add value even. That phrase, add value, how am I adding value? You say that boils down to an employee who might not just be doing the job.
That's right. When you're just doing the job, you probably are never going to get a seat at the table. And if you look at it from the perspective that I've seen, we do something called talent management, and we identify the top talent in the company. They get all the perks and all the rewards. And they're the people that are helping the company go from what they want, what they are, to what they really want to be. And usually those kinds of problems are not easily evident, and it requires some work. It requires talking to your manager and getting aligned with what the greatest needs are and the biggest priorities.
Seeing things through the manager's eyes.
Right.
Or through the team leader's eyes. So essentially you don't have to give everything to your job in order to be successful or to add that value.
Absolutely, you don't have to give everything, but I have made that mistake before. I thought if I worked harder, it would pay off. And I can remember I worked on average 12-hour days, and my husband called me about 9 o'clock at night and said, "What are you doing at work?" And I said, "I have to get this work done." And he says, "I'll bet there's no other executive there right now." And I looked around and there wasn't. And he challenged me and he said, "I'll bet the things you think you have to get done are not have-tos." And that's really what prompted me to start to think about this. There was a gentleman at work, I called him Golden Boy for short, and I hated the fact that he went on vacations, he got all the promotions, all the raises, and he had a pretty good pace for work. He wasn't working overtime a lot, but I was. When I realized that he was doing work the company cared about the most, I realized that I also had fallen prey to just first job in, first job out. I was just going to take everything in. And really, until you can prioritize what is the top priority that makes the department look good or make me in my job look good, second priority and third priority, you're going to have a really hard time adding value in a company.
So let's emphasize that. That's the first step, you say, is for women to have that priority talk. Like, what matters to the company, what matters to my mentor, my leader, my boss, and align my vision with that. You also want us to consider the 3 buckets. What are those?
Yes, the 3 buckets are about balance. Another great truth of the workforce is never to give a company more than it can reasonably give to you in return. And that sounds like I'm asking you to not work hard, and that's not it at all. But companies will always take as much as you're willing to give. They're just designed that way. They're designed to make a profit, and they're designed to be more efficient. And so unless you have a voice in work-life balance, it's not going to happen. And what many women especially will do is they just keep doing more work or expect the company to give them work-life balance. So these buckets are 3 buckets that you can look at, and they're outlined in the book. 1, you don't have to make any grand announcements. It's how to carve out space in your day to give you the rest that you need to kind of get your brain thinking again.
So bucket 1 is space.
Space, simple things like go book a PTO day so you have a long weekend. That would be space. Go book a long lunch. Make a phone call. stop working for 15 minutes and walk around the building.
Give yourself space. What's the second bucket?
Second bucket. Those are things that don't require manager permission, but maybe a manager tap on the shoulder. Things like, I'm going to be turning my phone off at 6 o'clock at night. I'm not going to be working on weekends. Or this meeting doesn't seem to be something I need to be in. Could we consider having me removed from the,
So it's
from the
boundaries.
list?
It's boundaries.
It is. It's all about
What's
boundaries.
the third bucket?
Come to Jesus. The third bucket is a come to Jesus. And most people, when they hit the point they have to talk to their manager about burnout or having too much work, they'll say, I have too much work, I can't do it anymore, and throw their hands in the air. And it's having the right conversation the wrong way. The better way to have this conversation, and it's in the book in a script, is the priorities discussion. You take this every week to your manager. Here's the top priorities that as I see it. The things that make us look good. Here's our second list, and here's the third priorities. Know that these third priorities, I have enough work going on right now that I don't think that I can get to all of those. And if anything drops, I want to be on the same page with you that that's what would drop.
So it's revisiting that along the way before the big meltdown happens, right?
Before it happens.
Or the big burnout hits.
Because your manager isn't going to automatically know.
Yeah.
And this is a way for all of you to see those priorities, and it's a way for you to stay focused on the top 20% of the things that will get you 80% of the bang for your career.
I see. We've got a quick 30 seconds. I'd love to hear a few lines on this next point. You encourage women who want to add value to visualize their time. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yes, visualizing your time, I would say first spend just a few minutes saying, how much time today did I spend on meetings that were unnecessary or wasteful, conversations that were wasteful, and staring at my computer or doing emails. Second, just take a look at how much time did I spend doing the top priorities that I've talked to my manager about, and the gap is enormous.
Okay.
And just in having that, it helps you reframe to where you can focus on the things most important, so that when your brain is the most active and can do the most, you're getting the hardest work done instead of doing all the easy work first and leaving the hard work for the end and not finishing.
Good words, Tessa. Thank you so much. Where can we get the book, and what is it called?
The book is called The Unspoken Truths for Career Success. You can find it in any bookstore, on Amazon, and you can also buy it through my website at thejobdoctor.com.
All right. Thanks for the pep talk. We appreciate it.
Thank you.